one more question here, and it's a little bit more dark, I guess. And that is that, do you really think that people seriously consider the level of violence that they may need to use in order to defend their own life or the lives of others? And I'm sure Adam Winch would have something to say about this as well. But, when we look at those videos and we see how up close and personal some of that is, and that wasn't even the worst of it. There was stuff that got taken out, guys, at the last minute. But that's stuff that we need to know, and we need to study, and we need to prepare ourselves for as best we can. But I do feel like sometimes on shows, and maybe on TV and all of that stuff, like that isn't real life. And how stuff goes down on TV is not how it goes down in real life. And so I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people very much underwhelm the intensity of an actual attack, of how challenging it will be if they aren't constantly training and preparing for it. I mean, if you look at even just like jiu-jitsu, just sports jiu-jitsu, if you've never done jiu-jitsu before and you go in and train, the first time you go can train with people that actually know what they're doing, you're just going to feel like you know nothing. Now, take a real situation where somebody has a sharp stick or a knife or a gun, or they've got a big rock and they're trying to murder you. It's a whole nother level of violence, a whole nother level that I think a lot of people don't consider. They just think, oh, cool. I go to the range and I practice. But there is that side of it where you're going to have to take it to another level if the situation rises to that point.
Well, and I think that truly a lot of people don't go there mentally or emotionally because they can't imagine anybody, because they don't think that way. They can't imagine another person being that evil, really.
Yeah.
And so, I can't imagine experiencing that. Sometimes just watching it it makes your stomach churn. I just can't imagine. Unless you have more thoughts on that, I'll move on. But it's one of those things that I think about often. And I believe is important to study. Whether or not it's hard to look at is beside the point. But and we could have shown you a lot worse stuff. There was a lot worse stuff. And I'm sure you, Adam, and the other Adam probably wouldn't have bothered so much. But when I watched it, it was quite disturbing. So,
well, the one thing I will add to that, is sometimes we'll see some of the violence. And, that's one thing I'll recommend is go watch YouTube, go watch events that have happened. That's the nice thing about technology now is you don't have to go experience it. You can see it and see what it looks like. So I encourage people to do that. But if you're intimidated by it, don't say, oh, I'll just never learn. I'm never going to be able to defend myself. Learn some basic stuff. Again, we talked about awareness. If you learn some basic fundamental skills, you don't have to be a 30-year martial artist, but you need to learn something, and don't let that intimidation stop you from training. You need to find for you what your purpose is. I don't know if I remembered on the show last time, if I told you kind of my reason for training. But when I was 12 years old, I lived in a little town called Grant, Idaho. Inside this town, there weren't a lot of people. And I remember one day getting off the school bus, and the lady that ran the gas station just about 100 yards from my house had been murdered. Some young boys, I was 12 at the time, they were 15, basically went into the gas station and shot her in the back of the head and killed her for some gas money. That kind of changed my whole perspective on things. I value life and I value of my friends. And that is a big reason why I continued to train. If you would have met me when I was in high school, you would have never guessed that this is kind of one of the paths I would be going down, is teaching firearms and heavy weapons and teaching self-defense courses. But that really sparked it in me. And so for whoever is out there listening, if you feel intimidated by it, ask yourself the question, why do I want to train? What's the purpose of me getting better? Even if it's hard, what do I need to do to get better?
Yeah, that's really good. That's important to remember.